Well, it is 20 minutes to 11 p.m. in the evening here in Australia, and we've just gone stumps on a compelling first day of cricket in the second test between Australia and India at the Adelaide Oval. The day-night test well and truly delivers. I mean, the first test did as well, and that was all played in the day, but the pink ball does its thing. Both teams really do their thing to contribute to the contest. India batted first. They put up 180 for the loss of 10 wickets. Australia, they needed one of their stars to fire. We talked about it in the match preview that, all of that first test, it was mainly India's star players firing, whether it was Jaiswal and Kohli with the bat, whether it was, Bumrah, the whole test with the ball. Australia needed some of their players to stand up, some of their key contributors over the last, however many years. I sort of theorised maybe it's Steve Smith can get back to playing some good cricket. But the star who emerged, well, it wasn't a star, it was a Starc who knocked over Jaiswal with the first ball, not only, of his day, but the first ball of the first day of play, knocked him over LBW, which was a great start, just the medicine that Australia would have been after. And then it was a genuine tussle for the rest of the game, really, not just the Indian innings. India, they lost wickets regularly. I think that was probably what prevented them putting up, a score in that sort of 200 to 250 type range. They just lost wickets regularly, and they lost them. Australia took them. Australia bowled really well as a unit. I think the Pacers shouldered the burden here. Lyon rolled over so many overs in the last Test match. It was the fast bowlers here for the Aussies, 43.1 overs of pace for 10 wickets. They did their job, spearheaded by 6 for 48 from Mitchell Starc, career best figures against India. It was Nitish Kumar Reddy who top scored for India, 42 off 54. And the problem really was, I thought, for India that, as I said, they got a lot of starts. KL Rahul scored 37 off 64. Shubman Gill, 31 off 51. Rishabh Pant, 21 off 35. But no one was able to go on with it and get maybe a 60 or a 70 or an 80 that would have pushed that total up over 200 and maybe seen them batting into the night session and able to give the Australians just half a session to bat with at the end or something. But that was not the case. Now, the cameo... Well, it was more than a cameo, really, when you top score. But Nitish Kumar Reddy, it was ferocious. It was flamboyant. 42, as I said, off 54. 3 fours and 3 sixes, and some absolutely outrageous shots. He's had a good tour so far, Nitish Kumar Reddy. That got India to 10 for 180 and left Australia to bat what is sort of the dreaded night session in the pink ball test with the way the ball can move. Khawaja and Nathan McSweeney, neither of them, had done a lot in that first test match. They ground around and tried to grind their way into the game. Khawaja, though, he was eventually out edging, you guessed it, Jasprit Bumrah to Rohit Sharma. And the Australians at that point were 1 for 24, and you thought, the door is open here. The door is ajar for India to charge through again. Their spearhead bowler in Jasprit Bumrah has forced it open. But what followed was a really good 20-plus overs of very even, very combative, contested test cricket. And it was a true test in every sense of the word. Out of form, Marnus Labuschagne, and Nathan McSweeney, who's only sort of freshly baptised into the church of the baggy green, they joined forces in the middle to do battle with Bumrah and his cohorts under lights. And it was just a really excellent fight. I mean, Jasprit Bumrah was magnificent, frequently unplayable, took 1 for 13 off 11 overs. So, Australia, they couldn't score freely off him, but they did probably defend him a little better in this game. But he had some really good support too from Mohammad Siraj and Harshit Rana as well. So good bowling from India in that final session, and good batting too. It was everything that I want personally to see in a test match. And it really does make me think when you have sessions like that where, McSweeney and Labuschagne combined, they battled out 22 overs for a really hard-earned 62 runs. You've got that happening. And then at the same time, earlier today, you had Harry Brook come in looking like, Zeus transfigured into a cricketer, and he just blasts whatever it was, 123 off 91 deliveries or something absurd. That you can have both things happening, on the same planet, in the same sport, one happening in New Zealand, the other one happening here in Australia. Like, that's the beauty of Test cricket, is it's an ever-changing type of test. And you don't ever know necessarily what you're going to get when you rock up on the day, what sort of test is going to be thrown at you. And it's 5 days, the potential of 5 days or 25 like this across a 5-test tour where each team takes turns asking questions. And, Mitchell Starc asked some great ones that India didn't have a lot of answers to in the first, 2/3 of the day. And then Bumrah and his, friends had plenty of questions for Marnus Labuschagne and Nathan McSweeney. And to their credit, they found some answers. They were in their shell to start with. They had to be. They had to bunker down. They had to try and withstand, the barrage of excellent bowling. And once they got through a certain, period of play, they managed to play a few nice shots. They managed to start, the beginnings of a counterpunch for Australia, obviously in this match, but in the series as well. Nathan McSweeney, 38 off 97 balls, top scoring for the Australians, 6 fours, a strike rate of just 39.17. And if you think that's a drudging sort of strike rate, have a look at Marnus Labuschagne, 20 runs off 67 balls, 3 fours, 0 sixes, 29.85 strike rate. But it was the sort of partnership and response that Australia needed. They were knocked over, without a lot of fuss in the first test match. And I think they needed a response, and they found one. And it's nice that, it was Starc, who's an experienced campaigner with the ball to start with. But then it was, a guy who's really out of form in Marnus Labuschagne, and it's a second test match player in McSweeney who finds some answers. So who knows what the second day will hold? As I said, every day it's a new test. Every day there's going to be new sets of questions asked. I'm sure India will have things that they'll tinker with and tweak. But Australia managed to get through that, what can be a sort of desolating nighttime session with the pink ball for the loss of just 1 wicket and the gain of 86 runs in pursuit of India's first innings of 180. So I'm fascinated to see what happens tomorrow. Can Australia go on with it? Can India maybe nip out an early wicket and get Smith to the crease and try and nip Australia out for around that 200 mark? We saw wickets fall aplenty during the daytime of this test match. So I don't think India should be, feeling too bad about it. But this might be one of the very rare days so far. We've had, have we had 5 days of test cricket total so far this summer? This one might be one of the rare ones that you can chalk up as a win to Australia. I think India pretty comprehensively won every day of the last test match. But this one, I'd probably give the points to Australia here. Bowling India out for 180, responding with 1 for 86. I'm just glad that maybe I was just worried that Australia might get rolled here on day one and then we're in for a long summer. And who knows, we still might be. But as someone who doesn't have a direct sort of rooting interest in either team, I'm just hoping for the best test series possible. And if it continues like this, I think we're going to get an absolute ripper. So, yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. If you want to hit that subscribe button, that would make me Very happy indeed. I'm going to go and hit the bed.